You're listening to Developmental, Property and the Mind podcast, where development industry insight meet mindset with Trafalgar CEO Joe Aboud. Join one of the property industry's most free thinkers as he explores the path to success and contentment.
Hi, joining us on the show today is a really good friend of mine, Jeff Moxham, Principal of Ray White Commercial, Metropolitan, Sydney. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Joe. Lovely to be here.
We've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
But for those who might not know of you yet, can you tell us a little bit more about your business and what you do day to day?
Absolutely, love to. So I've got a commercial real estate business here in Sydney, as you mentioned, Ray White Commercial, Metropolitan, Sydney. I've been in real estate 25 years now. I've been a business owner for 6, and I come from a family background of property. As you know, my family had quite a well-known property business in Parramatta called Moxham's Real Estate, which my grandfather started in the 50s. And my father went into that, and I followed my father into that. And I was there for almost 10 years, and then went to commercial and was at JLL there for 10 years.
And your great-grandfather or your great-great-grandfather was a mayor of Parramatta back when?
Yeah, back in 1897 to be precise.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is. We have a very close association with Parramatta. We're very early settlers in Parramatta, and we've got a family graveyard there in Brickfield Street, actually, which is... I think the earliest tombstone there is back in the 1830s. So very passionate about Parramatta. And
you've got streets named after you guys and roads and all that kind of stuff.
We do, mate. We've got
Moxham Street and
Moxham Road in North Mead, Moxham Street and Moxham Park in North Para. So, a lot of history there, and it will always be very passionate about the space.
Well, that's where I met you. We were trying to do some deals as young guys, young kids.
Yep.
Running around trying to make a name for ourselves and trying to put deals together. And
I still remember your sign that you had outside in Marsden Street. That was next to the gym that we used to go to. My dad used to go there and do he used to drag me there to do aerobics with him.
Who's that?
My dad.
Oh, your father.
Next door, because the gym was next door to your... and you used to ring me... yelling at me saying, where you can get me any options. And I used to say, mate, options, what are they?
Yeah, no one does options, right? And 30 years later, I was still doing options,
That's it. And I still haven't found you one.
Oh, well, yeah, you'll find me one day. Mate, and then you were working at JLL for a long time, so,
yes.
After you left Moxham's, talk to us about that and your transition out of there.
Yeah, nice, definitely. So I was with Dad for 9 years, and it was actually... we were working out an agreement for me to take over the business actually from Dad, and I was sort of reasonably, I was in my sort of 30s, and I actually had a really big motorcycle accident, and I was a pillion passenger, it floored me, and I was quite injured and off work for some time. When I came back from it, I just changed, and I just decided not to take on the family business. I think sort of, newly engaged and to be married, and saw Dad, worked very hard for many, many years, never had a holiday. And it's, a small suburban real estate family business it's a 7-day sort of business. So I thought, look, I'm going to have a break. Went back to advertising, which I did when I left school. And by the time I got back to it, realised it was definitely a young person's game. Didn't enjoy the long lunches anymore. And then found commercial. I've realised that real estate was well and truly in my blood. I really missed it a lot, and ended up working at Jones Lang in their Parramatta office. I was there for 9 years. Loved it. Amazing 9 years. Learned such a massive amount. I remember starting there, and all of the different business lines and all of the different the movement of sort of interacting from department to department, and industrial, retail, investment, development. So it was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah, you sold a few of our sites through that.
And
through JLL.
That's right, and we knew each other. Well, we still do, obviously, but you were down the road, and lots of interactions. It was a great time.
So, what is it that you love about what you do?
What I love about what I do is, I think it's it's a couple of things. It's the connection with many, many people. I think that's what I really, really enjoy. I mean, when I did some travelling overseas and I worked in cafes and I was a waiter actually, and I noticed the same thing. I just loved the people connection, like just lots of different people and meeting them all the time. And that's what I love that, and I love relationships. I really get a lot out of developing relationships and having them, long term. And I think property just happens to be part of that, and it's I think well within me that is a product of what I do that also happens to be involved in, that benefits from deep and long-lasting relationships.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely the personal connection is a big thing, and
Yeah.
relationships and the whole networking pieces are exactly what keeps us going, and I think what sort of drives sort of day-to-day successes, I guess.
Oh, so much.
You could describe it that way. But for anyone looking from the outside in, you've led a very successful life, and for mine, you're probably one of the most prominent and successful agents that are out there in the industry right now. And mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have known you a very long time.
Thank you, Joe.
But talk to me about your definition of success. What is that?
So I was actually writing down yesterday a quote that I was reading. I'm a bit of an avid reader of books and very sort of keen on understanding high performance and all of those sorts of things. How can we be better and lead the most impactful lives? And I was reading something yesterday. It was of Brendan Bouchard, and it was a definition of high performance. And I think I really resonated with it. I mean, it's being able to have success in business, but for it to be sustained for a long period of time, but also to have great relationships in the rest of your life. So, okay, you can be very successful in business but never see your family or kids. Maybe that's success to someone. For me, I'm 49, 50 next year. It's definitely a hybrid. It's like what you and I are talking about. It's the business plan is the life plan for me, and success is, I mean, look, wealth is a big part of success for me. I love nice things and I want to be wealthy, but it's also about, definitely now, more so in the last few years, it's about balance for me. First few years of my son's life, when I started this business, just worked, look back on that, go, wow, I wish I'd spent more time at home. So it's all about balance now, and I think everyone has a different answer to success, but yeah.
So it needs to be a balanced approach, right?
Absolutely.
You can't just be all one thing, because all work, no play makes Johnny a very dull boy, right?
Well, that's it. And
or should I say Jeff?
Well, that's it. I think, but it's also to be able to perform at optimum levels for long periods of time. It's a balance of everything. One of the books I read recently, they did this digression, but this wonderful analogy of a study in Death Valley in the States, where they wanted to build this, where the climate is obviously harsh, dry, climate where hardly anything survives, and they built a big, like huge indoor sort of ecosystem to see if they could grow everything in a controlled indoor climate, and everything was a great success. Everything grew really, really well, but once the trees got to a certain level, they kept falling over, and they couldn't work it out, but they worked out that it's because they hadn't had the elements and they hadn't been used to the wind and the struggles. That is a big part of their roots growing for them to survive. It's the same as a tree needs sun, a tree needs water, a tree needs great nutrients, but it also needs that sort of element to sort of get it through the tough times. And I think I've got this analogy in my mind that I think of a lot. It's the tree, and it's like a revolving, it's just an evolving wheel of energy for the tree and for us as humans to operate at our best. It's a whole multitude of things, and for long periods of time to be the best person and people we can be.
Yeah, look, you seem to talk openly about being in a time of learning and growth, and this has been a real impact on you and your life at the moment.
Yes.
What was the trigger for that mindset?
Yeah, so for as long as I can remember, really, we've been in boom time conditions in real estate, and in particular in my time in commercial, it really was just kept getting better and better and better. And we had many, year after year of great success, and then all of a sudden it came to an end in 2017. And I remember waking up one day and looking at the pipeline ahead, and I was like, wow, that's sort of looking pretty dry. And I went from having probably the biggest, well, definitely without a doubt, the biggest year in my career by so far, to having probably the worst year I've ever had. And it was a real eye-opener for me I want to understand more about that within me. How did that happen? I don't want that to happen again. I want to do everything in my power to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I've always been quite a spiritual person, but I really went on a very big journey of, what's my why? I mean, I knew real estate is my thing, but how can I be better? Like there's more to just real estate. How can I be more impactful in my business as a leader? How can I be more impactful as a father, as a husband? And what's next for me? And it was really driven by just not wanting to leave it up to chance, my success, and wanted to
It's
really...
about planning it, right?
Planning it.
Yeah. So, part of the conversations we used to have is, I think, and we touched on it earlier about, not necessarily finding a deal for me and all that kind of stuff. And this is not necessarily about me. One thing I think we used to always talk about is I used to say to you, Jeff, you got to build that pipeline, right? Yeah. I understand that doing things the way you normally do them in attracting the listings and doing the normal day-to-day stuff that you do.
Yeah.
I get that's your bread and butter.
Yep.
But I always used to try to sort of say to you, also build that pipeline that maybe I can be the guy that you can do the long stuff with.
Yeah, 100%.
That is the more longer option terms or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
And in turn, they're the things that get you through that dry period.
Yes.
And they're not going to come when you expect them.
Yes.
They actually come unexpected. And it's kind of like planting seeds for the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's kind of like, help us find a deal so we'll work on the long stuff with you and do the bread and butter stuff.
Yep.
Do your day-to-day deals. Do all these great listings and the great sales that you're amazing at.
Yep.
We know that.
Yeah.
But I think there's always something else about giving that other bit back where it's the long, slow, steadier approach to creating longevity, I guess.
Yeah,
right? And that'll fill in
absolutely.
those gaps for you along the way.
Yeah.
And then what you might find as well is we would have easily started to become the day-to-day listings as well.
Yes.
Because they turn over.
Yeah.
It's no different to my business plan. When I started this business plan, I had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan, and then I'd have, the really short ones that would help with my cash flow.
Yes.
And then I'd have my sort of 1 to 5 year
Yeah.
strategy. Then I had my 5 to 10 year strategy. And then I've got these really long ones.
Yeah.
These long ones that probably my kids would play with one day.
Yeah.
And that all makes sense in building, I guess, that nice long pipeline.
Yeah.
But then you start to realise, you go back and say, okay, but there's more. It's not just about work and pipeline.
Yeah.
What is it about me I need to fix and change?
Yeah.
And so I guess you started to experience that.
Yeah, it was, and it was a lot about the business, like the business in terms of, I think I have a saying, you can never forget the basics, and in terms of my personal business, we have long-lasting clients, and I'm always okay. But I really took my foot off the pedal in terms of where my business was going. In terms of, we just were so used to all of the business just
Coming to
flowing
you.
and flowing and flowing,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, well, it's not coming, and we haven't planned for that, and it was just a real eye-opener.
And that's where the other long stuff,
Yeah.
the little planting those other seeds and playing those little bit of a long game starts to fill in those gaps when those things are not coming, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what happens to us, right? It happens to us in our business where you plan your short term, your long term, your medium term, and then we get unexpected forces that play into this, like COVID and revolutions and downturns and GFCs and all these things that we can't predict, right? And then they start to play havoc in your plan.
Yeah.
But then what's the trick after that?
Well, I think the greatest thing I've learned over the last couple of years, and I think it's just like, how much have I learned personally through going through that market downturn. I'd never been through a market downturn. Even at the GFC, Jones Lang, I still had a really great year personally. So that was a real eye-opener for me. It was like a big smack in the face, like, mate, you're not invincible. This can happen to anyone. So I think the answer to that for me is just learning from your struggles. And I've found great learning and great strength in, like, that was meant to happen for a reason for me. For sure. And also then I took over the partnership business that I was in, which was always my plan. And my first year of going from being a financed business from my partners to financing the business myself, and then COVID hit. And I was like, wow. And it was a double whammy. And it was, so I just feel, and it was interesting, the harder it got for me, the deeper I wanted to get. I was just obsessed with, like, I must have read 20 books in the last 15 months. I'm a avid digester of all things personal development, podcasts, and the harder it became, the more I wanted to go into it in terms of learning about myself and how I can get through this.
And it's different with your money, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely different dynamic when you're doing it with your money.
Yeah.
Doing it with other people's money.
Yeah.
Right. And being an employee or you know, associate director or director with one of the big 4 or 5.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty cushy position.
Very
right?
much so.
And you don't actually, and I've never done that, by the way. So I don't really know, but I can imagine, you know, how comfortable that might be. But it's also limiting, right? It's only limiting because you're only going to achieve what you can achieve. You can have your salaries and your comms and whatever the case may be. I don't know that you can really excel to, you know, greater heights and wealth levels that you would if you were doing your own thing. I mean, some people do well, but then you're climbing up that ladder. And
I think, Matt, I absolutely agree and have been there. And that's when, like when I met the Whites, when I was at Jones Lang, and I was going to be at Jones Lang for the rest of my days, and my first year of having this business in partnership, we wrote and made more money than I had even planned that we were going to make. And then it was from there up and up and up for the next 4 or 5 years. And that was a really big part of my life where, it's sort of taking a bit of a risk and getting way out of my comfort zone. And it has been just the most wonderful journey for me that has just being around those entrepreneurial type people. And, you know, the commercial brand was, that brief for us was to take it up to the corporate level and the big end of town and do the big deals, which we've truly done. And I've never looked back. And I look at and think about my mind at the time, and look, you don't know what you don't know.
And absolutely.
Until you have a crack, you just don't know.
Life will teach you, man.
What's on the other side.
Absolutely, life will teach you, and that's exactly how it plays out every time, you know. And then, it depends on how big your aspirations are too.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And how big do you really do you want to be? And also, I think there's, you know, some truth in show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much truth in that. If you're hanging out with the wrong people, you end up doing the wrong things.
That's exactly what.
And if you're in fine company, you'll end up doing fine things, right?
Mate.
You know, that's key. I remember a long time ago, I had a young friend of mine. I mean, we were just knocking about, you know, heading out to the bars and drinking and whatever. And he used to say something to me like, you know, I've noticed something about you. You only try to hang out with people that are successful and have got money. And I said, why is that a problem to you? He goes, it's kind of like you just want to hang out with these people just so you can use them for all that kind of stuff. I said, no. So I'm actually hanging out with those people because I want to be like those people.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with those people and do what they do.
Yeah.
Because I don't actually come for money.
Yeah.
I don't come from that success piece.
Yeah.
That's not what I was born into.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stay here.
Yeah.
And he couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
10 years later, we had the same conversation. And I said, hey, looks like you're hanging out with all these rich guys now. What's going on? And he laughed at me. He said, do you remember I said that to you? I said, yeah. I said, absolutely. He goes, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't understand that, you know, the people that are around you and the company that you keep has the most influence on where you end up in life at some point, right?
100%.
And I've just learned that again recently, but we won't get into that detail.
I think, look, there is absolutely no way I would have taken the steps I have in the last sort of 6-7 years without my mentors and people pushing me and backing me mentally and just saying, mate, you can do this. And, you know, one client said to me, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? He kept saying, well, no, you know, no one's going to die if it doesn't work. At least you've given it a crack. And it's, since it has been a great success, and then taking over the partnership and being the business owner was another big step, really massive. Probably that was probably one of the biggest. And now I want more. I want more challenges, and I've got this great business that I'm absolutely hugely passionate about, growing my people and growing the business. But I've got other things in mind as well that will be associated with that business. That's the next challenge. And it's almost like, oh, wow, I've done that. And you get momentum. And it's like, I've taken that step. That worked really well. What else can I do?
So through all that, you've developed a bit of a process or a recipe, and it looks like, 5 steps, or you've got like your 5 guideposts for living successfully.
Yes.
Let's dig into that a little.
Yeah.
So the first one you talk about is your purpose, or is your fuel.
Yes.
Expand on that for us a bit.
So find what you're good at, find what you love doing, and it will get you through whatever tough times you need to get through. And it's not only will you enjoy what you're doing, but if you enjoy it, you'll naturally be good at it. And like I went through some, when I started in real estate, I remember I moved home to my mum's house in Gosford, and I was driving I called it my Ferrari, this little charade that I had that was the biggest piece of crap of a car. And I used to drive from Gosford to Parramatta, then to Crow's Nest 3 nights a week for TAFE, and then to my girlfriend's house at Cronulla. My car had holes in it. I used to wear Ugg boots on the freeway driving down in the morning. I had to get there before, the day had begun, because I'd print out my canvassing letters, because I had to go and put them in people's letterboxes as they were going to work, which is like 7:30, 8 o'clock. There's no way I could have done any of that. And I was like 30 grand in debt on credit cards, unless I really loved, like this was my thing now. I'd found real estate, and it propelled me through those tough times. And
what colour was the charade by?
White.
It was a white one.
Yeah,
okay.
It was white.
I don't know, for some reason I thought a blue aqua colour was coming to mind, but it might not have been yours.
No, mate, it was white. I'll never forget
white
it.
One, yeah, okay.
And so for anyone out there, wondering what to do for young kids, what do I do? I think, and as I tell my son, he's 9 now, but I don't care what you do, just find what you enjoy. And the rest will happen.
Yeah, that advice is gold for that kid.
Isn't it?
My mate was saying to me yesterday, like as he was leaving, he said, I'm kind of worrying about, my son, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. I said, dude, he's 10. I said, all I try to instill, as you instill into your son, is, just have a think about what you want to do, and you'll find that. But most of all, find something you love doing and something you enjoy doing, and property is always going to be a part of your life. And if property is that thing, great, right? Fortunately, or unfortunately, depends how you look at it, you're going to inherit some stuff, and you're going to have to look after that, and you're going to have to maintain it, and you'll do that.
Yeah.
We know how to do that. We've got a system, we've got a process. The business is the business, and it's doing what it's doing. You don't have to worry about the money piece.
Yep.
Find your, as the Buddhists would put it, your dharma.
Yes.
Okay. Find your purpose in life, and the rest will come. So I said that to the guy, and he said, yeah, geez, I never thought of it like that, and then walked off, sort of scratching his head.
Yeah.
He's doing a law degree, by the way.
Yeah. Wow.
At a later age.
That's
so
awesome.
number 2 is create your success environment.
Yes. So really, like what we were talking about before, surround yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with the people that you aspire to. Surround yourself with the people you can learn from that are going to push you. Immerse yourself in what it is you want to be good at. So you find what you're good at and just be obsessed. Books, coaches, courses, whatever it is, just be the best at it. And I say that to my staff, and it's a great thing about being a business owner. I can say, right, look, I'm really good at this. I'm not good at all this rest of this stuff, and my business is set up around people supporting me with the things that I'm not good at, and other people being supported with the things they're not good at. And I think
it's complementary.
It's complementary, and just really, same as, what you said before, my dad used to have a saying when I was at school, show me your friends and I'll tell you what you like.
Yeah, or how can I fly like an eagle when I'm surrounded by turkeys?
Yeah. So that's what that means. Just really, just immersing yourself, everything holistically, from people to, what you digest and learn.
Number 3, self-belief. Believe in yourself is a really big one for
Massive,
mine.
isn't it?
Talk to me about how that works for you.
So, it's such a big word and subject. So for me, it's a couple of things. It's look, first and foremost, we can really, all of us can do whatever we want. I say that to my son. He said, Dad, I can't fly. So, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Oh, you can in an aeroplane.
Yes, right. And I think first and foremost, you got to believe you can do what you want to do, but also believing in yourself and backing yourself and taking a risk and listening to your gut feelings, because they're like a real, it's a physiological thing. We have these feelings for a reason.
A still small voice.
That's it.
There's always this little mini me tapping on your shoulder, sitting on your shoulder, trying to tell you to do something different. Or
That's
something.
it.
Is that what it is?
I have it drives my wife nuts. I was, I've just got to write a note and things will come to me, and I try to write it all down, and I must stop doing that at home, because I think it's all energy. And we're all made of the same energy, and these things come and go. And I think the more, and you and I have spoken a bit about this, the more you believe in something and manifest something and think about it, it's, the more it comes. It's like when you decide on the car that you're going to buy and you're driving around the street, and all of a sudden you're seeing all of these cars around the place. Oh, my wife wanted to buy a certain car, and I keep seeing them everywhere. It's just,
It brings it to your consciousness, right?
Correct.
It basically helps with bringing your thoughts or your wishes or whatever you are trying to attract into this world to your consciousness.
Absolutely.
Brings it to the forefront, right?
Totally. And so in believing in yourself, it's really believing that, and it's not just mentally, but it's physically, and it comes from you. It comes out of your energy.
And it's not even belief in a way. It's knowing.
Yes.
You need to build a knowing.
So true. And one of my mentors talks a lot about that. Just give it time. And some of the strongest gut feelings I had was this move and starting the business with the Whites when I was at Jones Lang. And look, if you looked at it all, you'd think it was risky. I just had this very strong gut feeling that just powered over everything. One of the things I fell in love with the most about the family and their business was it's clearly like, yes, they're super successful but it was never about the money. It was about the purpose of creating a wonderful family business. And you can tell Dan and Brian walking around the hallways, it's far more like it's not about the money. It's just a wonderful journey. It's a family business, and that's what's most important. And everything's done by family values, just at a massive level.
Yeah, I'd love to understand that succession plan sometime, but we can have another chat about that.
Yes.
Number 4, never forget to do the basics. What are the basics?
Yeah, so the basics. Another saying my dad used to say, look, just keep getting the ball back, mate. And I used to say to Dad, mate, I want to hit aces. What's this? Keep getting the ball back. I want to hit. I want to hit winners. I just keep getting the ball back, and the winners will come. And I honestly, never. And he used to say it to me for years and years and years.
And you never
I never really got it until honestly, I got it the most just recently in this downturn we'd had. As a business owner, I'd forgotten to do the basics. It's okay. I'd grown this big business, and in a couple of years we'd grown to like 20 people, 2 offices through this boom market, and there was no real plan. We were just flying by the seat of our pants because the market was booming. I wasn't analysing what this salesperson doing, how many calls are you making, what's your turnover, what's your success from listing to sale, from pitch to listing, and all of the mechanics.
All the methodical stuff.
Yes. Weren't doing any of it. That's what I mean about completely forgotten to do the basics, because it's been 10 years of boom. And then when the music stopped, I woke up, I was like, wow, they've got this big business, and I just hadn't been following the basics.
Yeah, I used to talk to the agents that used to sort of call, and one interesting dynamic that I used to experience with the agents was they'd bring me a site and I'd say to them, does it work? And they'd say, what do you mean? And I'd say to them, well, have you done a feasibility on the site? And he said, no. I said, how did you establish the price? He said, oh, that's just what the market's paying. I said, young man, let me tell you something. I said, there's going to come a day when you will realise that you not doing a feasibility and you bringing opportunities to us that are ill-informed, okay, are going to waste your time, my time, and the others. And I started to then develop this attitude of I was going to make money out of the deals I don't do.
When I started the business, I was just really wanting, big profits really quickly, and just I just wanted it all really quickly. And I think what I've learnt is, I just want consistency now. I want incremental growth every year. Yeah, great. I'd love to have, you have some big months or some big years, fantastic. But it's all about doing lots of little things really well all the time.
And that's what creates the efficiencies in your business, which creates the successes, right?
Absolutely, man. And look, I've become completely data obsessed. Like we just measure so much data in our business, and it's all about, okay, how many pitches are we doing? How many are we winning? How many are we selling? And lots of other data points, so we can really, really deeply understand, like with all of our marketing campaigns, okay, what's the highest number of inquiries? What's the lowest number? Which part of the campaign do the inquiries start to fall off, and why? Like it's just all about understanding all of that, so we can do everything really well.
I'm loving that word data at the moment, mate, because
Yes,
data's the new oil, right?
Yes, it is.
So, mate, data's my favourite thing at the moment.
It is.
Mate, that's the future,
Yeah.
That's where it's all going.
Yeah.
Your number 5 step is my favourite.
Yeah.
Right? Enjoyment and replenishment.
Oh, Joe.
And I take that to another level, but that's another conversation. Talk to me.
So I think, look, I've always been a really, really hard worker from my first job. Just always been, if I'm going to do something, I'm just all in. And I found, to my detriment, when I had my son, I think when I started the business, I was just so obsessed about the business. It was in early, late, first to get there, last to leave. And I was not seeing my son. And I think you can only go like that so far. And it's like what we were talking about before, business plan is life plan. For me to have longevity and have great incremental success and ongoing high performance, you've got to enjoy what you do, but you've got to have other things that you enjoy to do that replenish. It's like that tree analogy. Like you've got to have many things that make a tree healthy. And it's, for me, it's like I try to spend very little time in the office these days, because I enjoy walking around. There's numerous places around the city. I just sit down and make calls, or I don't come into the office at all. I walk the dog and make calls. There's a number of things that I can do. If I'm under the pump and we've had some stressful stuff going on, we've got heaps of deals going on, and as it can be in agency or in our game, there's a certain few things that I can just do that'll just replenish me.
Yeah, look, for mine, that's my favourite piece, not necessarily sitting in the office and just sort of grinding at a computer or writing or doing whatever you're doing. It's why you see me floating around the city.
Yeah.
Is because that's what I do. I go out there and I de-stress and I do my thing. But I read something interesting the other day, and it said, you're not stressed because of the amount of work that you've got on or the amount of problems you have. You're stressed because you're not doing enough of the stuff that you love and that actually makes you feel better, right? And that for me really struck a chord. Like, I was working from other countries and running this business, being overseas, right? Yeah. And people never used to understand that. But something, I was actually a lot more efficient doing it in a stress-free environment than sitting here stressing and being in the middle of it, because I'm able to see it differently. I'm in a different state of mind. I'm a lot more relaxed, and in those relaxed states, or those more those states that are more calm, the answers come.
Oh, totally.
Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I do this thing where I've got a bit of an issue. Before I go to sleep, I'll sort of think about it. I'll say, you know what, by the time I wake up, I'm going to have this answer. I can't tell you how many times I wake up with the answer.
That's so cool.
Right?
I'm just so into that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, it happens 99% of the times,
Yeah. So into that. And I think in particular, even really and this was again going back to what we were talking about before. When I had this, this down year, I've just gone completely holistic, and it's like for years I wanted to get up early. I just wanted to, but I just didn't sleep until, like, I call it a sleeping now, 6 o'clock. I'm up at like 4:30 every day. I'm at the gym and I do my meditations. And for me, there's a whole lot of little things that I do now to make sure that I'm just feeling great every day, and that when you come up against those times, you can deal with it the best possible way. But also for me now is leaving work a couple of days a week early and going and picking up my son from school. Just little thing that I do, dropping him off one day a week, which I haven't done that for a long time, and I can't believe that. And now I'm sort of making up for lost time.
I enjoy that. That dynamic's really cool. They love it. It's really good for them. I mean, they grow up remembering those things.
I think one of my favourite things to do is walking my dog. We've got a great dog park near our house, and now if I don't have anything on the afternoon, I'll go and pick Jolie up from school, drop him home, and then that's home by 3:30. Put the dog on the lead and go for like an hour and a half.
What
walking.
kind of dog is it?
He's a Shoodle. His name's Leo.
Oh, okay. We got a Cavoodle and a Shih Tzu cross, something terrier or something.
Yeah, so that's Shih Tzu and Poodle.
Okay.
And we got a cat as well. His name's Tigger.
Okay, I've got no cats.
But I think it's, for me, like doing that for an hour with my dog, just making calls. I'm on the phone the whole time, but I'm walking around, and it's replenishment, and I'm just ready to fire.
Yeah, I do it around Dural. Mate, scenery's incredible. The trees, and whether it's really early in the morning or just at sunset.
Yeah,
it's a really cool time as well. It's really quiet. We don't have traffic in our street anyway.
Yeah.
That's all part of that thing. Yeah. And lately I've been doing this thing where I'm sort of walking the grass with no shoes, just barefoot.
Yes.
There's this thing lately that I've been doing. I don't know.
It's a thing. It is actually.
Yeah, I know it's a thing.
It's
I know
connecting.
it's a thing, and I've seen it, and so I've been doing it. And funny enough, I was at an osteopath last week, and I was having problems with my hips and my legs, and it actually was because of my feet.
Yeah.
He'd done the reflexology on the bottom of my feet, released a couple of pressure points. There was nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So that goes to show how important the connection your bare feet are with the earth.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely into that so much.
Mate, before we wrap up, you've told me a few times you love reading.
Yes.
What's something you'd recommend at the moment?
Look, so
we're not getting paid for that, by the way.
Yeah, no. I read all sorts of different material, like some deeply spiritual stuff, and also business and leadership. I think from a business point of view, a couple of great books that I remember in the last sort of couple of years I've read. One's called The Buddha and the Badass.
That's a cool title, man.
Yeah, really cool book by Vishen Lakwani, who built and owns Mind Valley. I think they had 200 or 300% growth every year for the last however many years. Mind Valley is like a personal development business, like biggest international personal development business all online. And he's written a number of books, and this book is all about bringing spirituality into and using it for a business sense and team and performance. Really like that one. Simon Sinek read one recently called The Infinite Game, and really like that, in that just doing all of the little things well all the time, and there's no end. We're not here to win, we're just here to improve, and we're here to build something that continue to be here after we go. It's not about a win and lose. It's those really good on the business side of things. Absolute cult classic on the spiritual side, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Yeah.
A real win. I've read that for the 3rd time just recently.
You know there's a version of 7 Spiritual Laws of Success for raising children.
Is there?
I'll share that book with you.
You're kidding.
Yeah, that's another beauty.
Oh, that's
absolute
unreal.
Cracker. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. I'm looking for kids' books. So yeah, that's a couple of books that I've really enjoyed.
Awesome. Did we miss anything? Anything that you want to have a chat about before we sign off?
I don't think so, mate. I think we've been on a very similar path. I think for the last few years, I was really excited to come and talk to you today, because I think seeing your success is completely inspirational, and I think the people listening, I think, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
Anything's possible. Just immerse yourself in it, set some big, uncomfortable goals, and just get into it and go hard. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, I think being detached from the outcome is a pretty important part of that success.
So
Not being so hard on yourself and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mate, Jeff, as always, man, a pleasure talking to you. Been a terrific discussion again. Appreciate your time, and hopefully we get to do this again.
Yeah, love to. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Developmental, Property and the Mind podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, available wherever you get your podcasts. Or to talk to Joe, visit trafalgar.com.au. That's TRIFALGA.com.au.